Shalom and welcome to Practical Spirituality here at Asia Torah in the old city of Jerusalem overlooking the Western Wall. Being a more spiritual person lends itself towards depression. You'll find that more spiritual people are high in right brain creative thinking. The associative brain is usually quite strong. They're low in left brain thinking, which is more the compartmentalized, structured thinking. And those more structured thinkers, more left brain thinkers, tend to be more, you would say their mood swings are more balanced. They're not very swingy. Whereas creative right brain people have generally much higher amplitudes in their swings. And given that, they have to be more vigilant for their well-being. They can't take things lightly, and meaning they can't take their well-being lightly. They have to monitor themselves. They have to be careful of themselves, and it's good that they figure out what makes them happy and make sure that they don't skip it. And if they skip it, don't skip it 2 days in a row. Whatever it is that keeps you going. And what I mean by keeps you going is keeps you feeling okay. Now, interestingly, these wave patterns are inside of all creation. In fact, my voice you're hearing right now is really moving across the room in frequencies, which are just sped up waves, and those are very fast waves. And human beings are usually on slower curves in our, emotional circuitry, in our mood, stability or lack thereof. And we're on much longer curves than sound waves for sure. But everything really, in the end, is on a wave. Even the wood of these tables or the metal of the frames are on their own wave patterns. And animals also have ups and downs. And
animals also?
Yeah. Cats have moods. Dogs have moods. Yeah, animals have moods, and their moods are just kind of a built-in in creation. Meaning, wave patterns are built in creation. We call them moods, but they're built in. And we have to be really careful of those things, and especially if you're Jewish. Why? Why, if you're Jewish, you have to be extra careful? So the reason you have to be extra careful if you're Jewish is because we're not supposed to be actually having them. We're not actually supposed to be having moods. Jews are not meant to be having moods. Now, I know that sounds preposterous, considering Jews are the most moody people you will meet. But we're not actually supposed to be having moods. Now, what do I mean by that? The Jewish calendar has its own swings. It has its own undulations. Throughout the week, for example, there's Shabbos, and then there's down to Wednesday, and then there's back up to Shabbos. Shabbos is actually the middle of the week. You all think it's the end of the week. It's the middle of the week. It's the peak of the week. Now, of course, when Shabbos goes out, and especially more spiritual people that I was describing before, they will go into a big down Saturday night. And my down is so big, it'd be like as if you were running full speed and you just hit a wall of water and you just running full speed and you just go, and you can feel it hit. It's horrible. At one point I made a campaign to eradicate Saturday night altogether. How did I do that? I would make my third meal last as long as possible until my wife was finally like, kids have school tomorrow, and then what I do, so we should pray Mariv, the evening service, and then do Havdalah. So then we would do the evening service, no quick evening service, and then we'd come in and do Havdalah. Well, Havdalah, we break out all the instruments, and we play a 2-hour Havdalah concert. So by the time we were done with that, it was around midnight. It's time to go to bed. So I actually worked to eradicate Saturday night altogether because it just hit so hard, the loss of Shabbos. And this is universal. Even structured thinkers are a little more down on Saturday night. All they need is a slice of pizza or something. They're feeling good, but slice of pizza is not going to do nothing for a right brain, creative, spiritual type. It's just no treat will do the job. And I think that's why God created social media, except social media is a little painful too, because you can't respond to anybody outside your time zone, because maybe they're in Shabbos. You got to be really careful. So I guess that's why God created YouTube, because you can keep yourself distracted for a little while. But the problem is you might wind up elongating it anyway because of the nap that everyone takes on Shabbos afternoon. A little harder to fall asleep early Saturday night. So you could wind up YouTubing for quite some time on a Saturday night, which is not a great way to start a Sunday. Unless you live in America, which has 2 Shabboses. What's called Shabbos Sheni Shebegulios, the second day of Sabbath, which is Sundays. Israel doesn't have Sundays. Now, anyway, we have to be I was talking about patterns in time. There's waves. Shabbos down to Wednesday, up to Shabbos down to Wednesday. There's months that have some different energies. And each of those energies is wave oriented. Those are waves going on. Like we're going in, next month is going to be very high waves. Very high. Rosh Hashanah through Sukkot is high energy. Real high energy. And we just finished the month of Av. Very low energy. Very low energy. And what happens is, the reason why Jews aren't supposed to have moods to begin with, yet be with the biggest amplitudes perhaps, is because you're supposed to be riding the Jewish waves. You're supposed to be riding the calendar. You're supposed to be riding the waves of Jewish life. And to add one more thing, which can't help but add, is you're supposed to be doing all of this in the land of Israel. The Jewish calendar was not created for people who live in Brooklyn. You can keep the Jewish calendar in Brooklyn. You can keep it in South America and Brazil and Guatemala. And you can keep the Jewish calendar in Australia. And you should, because those are commandments when we do the calendrical, activities that we do and each holiday and everything. You should keep the calendar. But the calendar was clearly made for this area of the globe. Well, who cares? And the answer is that God cares, is because if you're creating a wave pattern, which is a flow that has to do with time, which means it automatically has to do with the zodiac. Because once it has to do with time, it has to do with the shifting pinwheel of the constellations. So that shifting is shifting energies. And those energies are coming in. And when they're coming in, well, they're coming in specifically to our globe, but into our globe, it's going to be, depending where you are on the globe, is going to be your positioning to the zodiac. And it was all created for here, not for New York or New Jersey. It was created for here. And so while being in the land of Israel, aligning yourself with that particular holiday, now the zodiac energies that come through on that holiday can flow. And that's the word for the zodiac. How do you say zodiac in Hebrew? Mazal. Mazal. And what does the word zal mean? The root of the word is zal. Mazal is the causing of the flow. Meaning the flow comes through the mazalot, through the mazalot, the mazalos. And what's the word zal mean? Means flow. Very good. Mazal means flow. That's why when you buy liquid soap in Israel, it's called sabon nozlim. You have the word zal there, nozalim, because it's flowing. And the word in Hebrew, the word zal means to flow. And mazal is the causing of the flow. It's where the flow comes down through these stars. And there's energies. And you got to be aligned with those energies. But the ultimate geographical location that the alignment of those energies happens in is the land of Israel. That's where it was created for. And so there's no promises for anyone who lives outside of Israel that they're going to get what I'm about to say. But if you live in the land of Israel, you will get it, except I see a question on my right. Yes, ma'am.
So then, like your spiritual law of the Shabbos, would that not be as intense as that?
Would the low of Saturday night not be as intense? Probably not as intense. I would guess it wouldn't be as intense, although I have interviewed people from outside of Israel, and it's intense. Now, myself, Saturday nights, when I'm outside of Israel, I don't know, I have amnesia, because whenever I'm outside of Israel, I don't think until I get back. Meaning the second the plane like flies off, like you can look down, you see Tel Aviv shore there as you fly out. The second it goes out, I have this like cable that just goes like, and then like there's some total disconnect until I re-engage. And by the way, I can still keep the energy going for about 2 weeks. Used to be years ago, I used to do a lot of Shabbatons, and the people in that town would say, "Oh, Rabbi, you should really live here. This is great. Look what you could do for us." I'm like, "You don't want me living here, man. I would take this place down." You know, my deep sea diving tank, I wear two, one for 1 week, one for the second week if I have to go for 2 weeks. They're done. You know, and a personality like mine will just like tear the world to shreds. You know, I destroy. I'm built to seek and destroy conventional systems of society. You understand? I'm the ultimate rabble rouser of human convention. I don't like it. In fact, I had to spend. There's 2 areas I prefer not to go in Jerusalem. One is I don't like leaving my little fiddler on the roof shtetl in Nachlot and cross the tracks towards the Black Hatitude side of town. And it's just loud, and to me it's noisy, and people aren't very friendly as far as externally. I'm sure if you go in their homes, they're the friendliest people. They'd probably die for you, actually, more than anyone on the side of the tracks I live. But they're whatever. I go there, but again, I'm on a tank, and the tank lasts only so long, and I don't mind being there on Shabbos. And then but then there was where I was today was in the northwest Jerusalem. Which I guess I was there in the wrong hours, but it was like a giant fashion show of long-wigged English-speaking women. And the only reason I went over there was a friend of mine said, "Let's meet and have some bagels." A guy wanted to talk, so I go over there to have some bagels. It's a bagel place with like about 50 women sitting and about 30 women, not one male in the entire place except behind the counter, which makes you wonder what they're doing there. I just said, I'm not even going in that place. Because, as I said, it's social convention that I have a total allergy to social convention. And especially when our tribe is reduced to a fashion show, that's where, by the way, I love all these people. I love them, I respect them, and I totally accept them, because had I been raised in their world, this would be like the normalest thing in the world. In fact, I would demand my wife looks like that. I'm sure if I were raised there. And but again, it's social convention. But here I get particularly agitated because we are tribal people. We're not the people of fashion. We're not the people of style. We're the people of tradition, and we're raising a banner, or we're like a lighthouse in the fog of history that people maybe can see which way's north and get through the thick of things, and you know it bothers me. It bothers me because I don't sense the truth there. And again, you can tell me I'm crazy or zealous or some whacked out Baal Tshuva from California, but do any of you in this room even raise your hand, please, if you identify at all with anything I just said? A couple people. He loves Nachla. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. If I had it my way, though, we'd all be wearing like robes right now, and we'd be like, I don't know, probably playing tambourines or something.
Tambourine.
Now, I should really learn to shut up about this stuff, because I don't know whether to speak this way or not, because there's I'm probably if there's one community that I'm most popular in, it's the one I just spoke about. I'm gonna lose my popularity quickly.
Which one was that?
Yeah, it's talking about the fashion show one. Now, so so every month has its energy, and not only that, but there's groups of months. So, for example, we're right now in the last group of an energy. This energy, we're now culminating this month's energy with an energy called reflection. It started with a national reflection in Tammuz, moved to through climaxes at Tisha B'Av, and then slides into personal reflection. Now, it's an energy. These are energies. So that means that you could have been very reflective of our nation and gotten positive results as you could have gotten positive results reflecting on our nation's situation during the month of Tammuz through Av. Now that wouldn't be appropriate. Now the energy is personal reflection. And now, one second, normally personal reflection is a disaster. It's a disaster. Like go try to reflect upon your life while you're in a low mood. How are you going to do? If you're in a low mood and you decide, wow, I think I should really investigate how I'm doing. In a low mood, how are you going to do? Horrible. Horrible. You'll probably be on pills within a month. There are times to not reflect on your own self. There are times like that. It's most of the time. Most of the time. And this is why Jews make up this weird, strange, percentage of depressed people compared to the nations of the world. We have this, I once saw a number that was 42% per capita, obviously, because we make up none of the world population. But per capita, it's something like 42% of clinically depressed people. I'm not saying 42% of Jews are clinically depressed. I'm saying we have 42% more clinical depression. And the reason that is because Jews are extremely analytical people. That's what we're known for. I know people think we're smart. We're not that smart. We're analytical. I know a lot of analytical people who do really stupid things because they're not very, very smart. They're just very analytical. And they make all the wrong choices, in their analysis. But we're very analytical, and if you're not analyzing Torah, because you're not raised observant or you're dropped out of the Torah world, so guess who you're analyzing? You're analyzing yourself, which is fine in a high mood, but you're not always in a high mood. So when you're in that low mood, you're going to get locked in. You're going to stay down. You know why you stay down? Because if you try to analyze your life in a low mood, you wind up in something called analysis paralysis. A low mood is not depression, but low mood over time is. And the majority of people who suffer depression, the vast majority, have no chemical issues, and it's a crime that doctors prescribe so much medicine to people who are simply overanalyzing at the wrong times. And all they have to do is learn to coast, take their foot off the gas pedal of analysis, and coast, and go easy, and stop analyzing every thought. You don't have to click on every thought. Have you ever seen news scrolling by on a news channel on the internet? You don't have to click on every story, You can let it cruise by. So if you're in a low mood, yeah, it's going to be a horrible day. You're going to have one bad thought after the other, but don't click on those thoughts. You're going to have a non-analysis day, an NAD. Everyone say NAD. Together, NAD. NAD. Say non-analysis day. When you're in a low mood, you have a non-analysis day. And I rarely have to have that, but I just came off of 2 days, longest I've had in probably 2 decades. I just had 2-day non-analysis. Wow. Not easy. I had to distract myself with everything I possibly could to keep my thoughts from thinking. Now, I was still thinking, but I did not click. I did not click. I just quickly bounced. I could look at something and give you like a 20-minute dissertation on everything that was wrong with it, and why the whole world's going to hell, and meaning individually, each one of us is like we're all gonna disintegrate into nothing, and we're all gonna die of starvation and poverty. And, like I would have explained it with great detail. Today I have no idea what I would have been talking about because I'm not in that mood now. But I did not click on one of those thoughts. Every time I had the thought, I moved on to the next horrible thought. But I didn't click on that thought either. And just kept moving. So it was a barrage of terrible thinking. But at least it was not drilling into one thought at a time. Yeah, you can't. Non-analysis day. NAD. And next time that happens, just go NAD. Now, yes?
Is there a way to change your mood?
Is there a way to change your mood?
Yeah.
I mean, when you're in the thick of it, not really, but once you're on the other side of the real heavy, dense part, yeah, you can do all kinds of cool stuff. A little extra caffeine, a little alcohol, some loud, fun music, dancing helps. Sports, you should definitely sweat. What? Meditation might be very good, actually, but if you really know what you're doing, because you got to blow your thoughts out totally, like get rid of your thoughts. Meditation would be really the best if you're good at it. If you can really get your brain to shut down, that'd be fabulous. Help other people, that's always good. Help other people, meaning you're already a lost cause, so you might as well help somebody. Like, take on someone else for a change. You're good at that, Moshe. This guy is like, he learned this. I watched you learn it, by the way. I watched you learn it. I watched you had a major shift in your life. And next thing I knew, you were just on what can I do for others? And then I could tell you, I could chart it, how your life went for the better after that. Yeah. Second, you just said, you know what? Forget it. I'm just working on other people's stuff.
You did, but you go to class with class schedule in the day. You said no, and you go to something about over there.
What can I do for you?
Right.
I mean, this guy would feed cats if he could. Like, don't do anything. But you discovered that one. I don't know how you discovered it or what happened. Do you know what happened that you discovered that? No, I'm not asking you in your personal life. I'm asking where'd you get the idea? Because I read about it in a psychology paper that was written about depression. Think and Grow Rich. He played it going to bed for 3 years straight. And what? Nothing matters except give. And then Aish paralleled that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Beautiful. What's your name? Yitzhak, you had a question? Excellent. So here's how it works. So this month, and it's going to be an energy, not just this month, it's going to go all the way to Yom Kippur, is self-reflection. By the way, it ends at Yom Kippur. So like, if you think, oh great, Judaism, like let's say someone only came for this month, like meaning they got here now, and now they're going to stay through the winter, they're going to leave Yom Kippur thinking, oh, we're really at the climax of this self-reflection. I guess we're going to keep going. We're not. Okay, we're going to dance like idiots for a week straight on Sukkot to live music while drinking copious amounts of alcohol. Okay, thinking's over now. No more thinking for quite some period of time. Now, so the answer to your question, Yitzchak, is the best way to utilize this time is self-reflection. Unless you're in a low mood, which I was. So I lost 2 days of the month. Because then, in a low mood, forget about it. But self-reflection is the name of the game right now. And I just want to mention for those of you who love self-reflection, anyone here into self-reflection? Some of you are into it? Okay. I don't envy you, by the way. I'm into it too, and it's generally a disaster. But there are propitious times for self-reflection, and I'll list them right now for those who want to get the list. So the lists are Friday afternoon, afternoon before Shabbat, not including. Do not go into Shabbat working on yourself. Shabbat is not that time. Shabbat is total meditation on the Creator. We disappear and we become one with God throughout Shabbat. But Friday afternoon is an excellent time for that. Another time is the day before Rosh Chodesh. The day before the new month is a very good time. Another time is right before you go to bed, but not including when you're in bed. For those who really ruminate, don't go to bed ruminating. So sit on the edge of your bed, work it all out, and then lay down. So that's right before you go to bed at night, and not including in bed. And there's another time. Oh, during the whole search for chametz. The search for chametz is a good time for self-reflection because, we're searching out the ego because the chametz is the leavened bread. It's the rising agent in bread, and it's the rising ego of human beings, and it's a good time to search and destroy the ego. And then there's the next one's more Kabbalistic. So unless you're in my classes where I talk a lot about it during that time of year, or you've developed. I chose an interesting day to wear Crocs. A whole cup. No, that's fine. No, I don't clean up water because it's like a humidifier. It just kind of rises. Yeah, I like the extra moisture in the air. Yeah, it's just going to evaporate. But I'm wearing Crocs. I just poured a whole cup of water into my Crocs. So I have a cold left foot. Now, what was I talking about? Oh, then there's a Kabbalistic one where you go through Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yisod, Malchus, the 7 spheros internally. Throughout that. But you got to know what you're doing. There, you could almost get in trouble with self-reflection during those 7 weeks. So it's a question of how much self-reflection you should be doing because you're really only supposed to be doing it's really specific. Like for example, let's say the second day of the third week is looking at. It's called Gevurah Shebetiferes. It would be, on that day, you'd be only focused on this. And if you're focused on anything else, you're not going to get the divine assistance. You'd be only focused on how well you judge how much flowing toward the other you are. Meaning how much you, right now, like I'm flowing to all of you right now. I'm flowing to all of you right now. And I have to judge that. I have to judge how friendly to be. I could be way more friendly. But I'm also a rabbi here. And you understand there's a certain professional, I wouldn't call it a distance. I'm not trying to create a distance, but I am creating, there is some difference between being a student and a teacher. And I'm guarding that as well as I could guard it during this hour. And if it were all men in here, I would guard it less. And if it's because there's some women in here, I'd guard it more. And if it were only women, I would guard it double what I would guard of that border between student and teacher. You understand? So that is that day. So if you understand those 7 weeks, you're doing really good self-reflection work, but extremely prisoned on the 7 colors of the rainbow. That each day is a reflection within this 7 weeks. Each day is one of those 7 prismed into that week. So whatever, it's pretty complicated. And then the day that those of you raise your hands that you like to analyze your life a lot, you're in the best time of year. Because this time of year, from the first of the month, which was the 1st of September anyway this year, but the first of the month of Elul, all the way till Yom Kippur, you can do full self-reflection without shooting yourself in the foot. You will have Siyata D'Shmaya to grow during this time of year, so you can really kind of open it all up right now and like really look at what's going on with you, what's happening in there. And I suggest getting help with that. Some of you are good at going it alone, but But it's nice to go to someone else, have someone kind of hold the space for you to let it all kind of come apart and look at all the different parts and unpack things and see what's there. It's probably a good time for that. It would be a good time for me to run a seminar, and I am going to run one in New York next week, and I'm doing an intro this Thursday night in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Place at 8:30. Men and women invited. There will be a partition, and then I have next week is a seminar in Brooklyn. Men start Sunday, women start Monday, and then the following week I have a seminar in London, England, in Stamford Hill. Yes, I'm courageous. And I'm doing a seminar in Stamford Hill, England. So if you know anyone in England or you're from England, make sure you come in for that. And for women in Israel who are desperate to do the seminar, they should fly to England for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. People are flying in for New York from all over. And but I don't run women's programs in Israel for reasons that are too sad to even bring up. But well, if I said that, it's going to freak you out. So the reason is because, I mean, for me not to go on a crazy rant right now would be hard, but I'll do my best not to go on a crazy rant. Because, you know what, I'll end the rant by just making a long because. Because the Western observant community wants to create a mirage that the state of Israel is lame, and therefore we're not going to move there. So the few that do move here don't have enough of a support system to allow at least the women to engage in personal growth on the intense level that it requires. So they wind up 10 times more buried underneath making it here without the help they would have gotten had they not been so harried all the time with zero support staff called family that everyone in cities, I'll leave nameless, outside of Israel, where there's tons of everyone living all around you. So meaning my seminars are full in other cities, full of women at the women's seminar. But in Israel, the people who need it most, who need the most support, who really need to grow in that level of a warm and safe environment for the hours necessary to do the work, which takes us about 24 hours over 4 or 5 days, they cannot see the light of day to allow themselves the seminar that I run. So it doesn't happen here in Israel, which is crazy, because you just got a huge population of these women, and half of them aren't even doing anything all day. I mean, they send their kids off to kindergarten or wherever they send them to, and they're just, I don't know what they, you know what they do? They go to coffee shops and bagel places in Northwest Jerusalem and shop with their friends and stuff. Okay. Did I rant badly? No, it wasn't too bad. Okay. Now so this is the time of year to do that intense growth. Let me tell you about the other times. The first 3 months of the year, which are Tishrei and Tevis and Kislev, those 3 months, maybe I'll put it on the board for you. No problem. So what you have is you have these first 3 months, and those 3 months are about it's planting of the seeds of life. It's well, the second 3 are potential, the third 3 are actualization, and the last 3 are reflection. So the planting is called the what? Yeah, but the English word of it. I don't know what to call it. You know what? Let's call it creation, which makes sense because the first day of the month is Rosh Hashanah, which is like a holiday commemorating creation of the world. Okay, so these are about creation. Then they move into 3 more months, which are about potential. Then you're guiding the potential of all that. Then there's the 3 months, which are, by the way, this is like Rosh Hashanah goes into most of Kislev, and then potential is this. This is the winter solstice right here, and then that moves out towards the Purim is around here, and then begins the holiday of Passover, Nisan. And this is the actualization. This is where all the fruits are, like the trees are all like coming out with their fruits, and the grains are coming up, and it's where we reap and we get the fruit of our year. That's the actualization. That's springing forth. We call it the spring, and then the last 3 months, which we're now finishing, are called the reflection. So this actualization. Actualization, and then the last 3 months are reflection. Potential part? Well, I mean, first of all, if you look in the weather patterns, you just finished the winter solstice, so now it's like the days are starting to go longer than shorter. They were getting shorter and shorter. Now they're getting longer and longer, but still the dead of winter. You're not like, it's Hanukkah, you know. What? Right, so in that time, you're basically, I remember the first 3 months. The first 3 months are called protection. Because you don't just, here the seeds have already taken root. Here they could get washed away easily. So you got to protect them. It's getting colder, it's getting rainier, and darker. Here it's starting to get light again. The winter's turning its corner. And there for us is now everything's kind of taken root on what we asked for on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, like what kind of year we wanted to have. So now we're actually, it's kind of beginning of actualization, but we're in our own life's work. We're really formulating ourselves in what we're doing. And, you know, like this would be later stages of R&D. If you were, let's say, going to go out and work, so this would be later planning stages and all that. And I mean, this is true planning here, but this is now, you know, here we're already like guiding things of how we're going to come out. You'd be kind of rolling out the plan now. But then by the time you get to spring, to Nisan, now you're doing it. You're actually totally involved. You're out of you're not even on the tree anymore. It's the fruits of it all. And then it's the 3 months of looking back, which begins, you know, nationally and then individually. Yeah, I don't have better words to articulate it really. Now, what I had said before was that Jews, who are the moodiest people, shouldn't be having moods at all. Rather, they should be always riding the wave of the Jewish calendar. And I'd like to give a how to do that, meaning, besides knowing, obviously, the nature of the calendar, you got to study the calendar. Also, it's highly recommended that a Jewish man or woman spends 1 year in Jerusalem. Meaning, if they're not going to live here ultimately, they should at least have spent 1 year in Jerusalem. The second best would be to spend 1 year in a yeshiva anywhere in the world. Yeah. Me. I made that up. Yeah, the reason I made it up is that in order to create Jewish literacy, it would be, you're not exactly a literate Jew if you haven't had a whole calendar, like the entire 365, inside a fully observant environment that's living it to the T. So Jerusalem is a place where, Jerusalem's where it's just everywhere. It's all around you. You're living it fully. It's also the location of the pilgrimages of the major holidays that are, you know, coming our way. A second best would be yeshiva in Israel and anywhere in Israel. And the third best would be a yeshiva outside of Israel. but to at least live an entire immersed year, so you know. Meaning it'll become the benchmark through which you guide, that will guide or through which you judge all holidays for the rest of your history. By the way, I meet people who only spend a time here, not a whole year, and you can see the holes. Like, they seem to know everything about part of the calendar, and then they have these like gaping holes for part of the calendar. And you'll see, if you meet them 10 years later, like 15 years later, you'll see they still don't really connect with the holidays of that particular time of year, because they never really had it the way it was intended, and they never really got those holidays. And so I highly suggest having a whole year. So I wanted to give you the key to avoiding getting stuck on your own mood swings that are random compared to the calendar. The key to getting unstuck on those is to be vigilant with precision and accuracy, not to do one of the prohibitions of the Torah, meaning there's 365 negative commandments. 365 negative commandments. And of those three, that's by no coincidence, because the 365 is the zodiac. That is the years. That is the constellations. And it's not our constellations, because we're a lunar family. The Jewish tribe is 355 of the lunar cycle. Shana is, actually the year Shana is, Shin is 300. Nun is Hey is 50, and Hey is 5, 355 is the lunar calendar. So we keep the lunar, and when we're on the lunar, meaning when we're careful not to do the negative commandments, all the thou shalt nots of the Torah, if we're really careful with accuracy and precision, avoiding all the negative commandments, so what happens is you leave the zodiac of the constellational influence on your life. Meaning, if you open a newspaper, you'll see there's like a horoscope that goes with the zodiacs of people's birth dates and times of the year. And when a Jew is not careful with the negative commandments, so they get locked onto the constellation. So once they're locked onto the constellations, so now their moods are going to swing based on the constellations of their horoscope. When a Jew is avoiding the negative commandments with accuracy and precision, so then they actually break out of the influence of the zodiac, and they move into the Jewish calendar, which I spoke about, the weeks, the months, the years, and each energy. Thank you very much. Shalom. You have to ask me outside. Aaron, just be careful, because there's water on the floor.